Under President Trump, reporters say covering the White House can be unlike anything reporters have seen before. CNN's Kaitlan Collins says the president's unusual accessibility and his constant presence for media questions keeps reporters on their toes and sometimes sleep-deprived.
Most politicians are not very press savvy. It kind of depends on who it is. I think Trump always understood the value of a camera and a microphone.
CNN's primetime anchor explained how Trump is more accessible to the media than most politicians, including past presidents.
But when you speak to reporters who covered President Obama, he almost never responded to shouted questions. It wasn't his thing. He didn't, he would have his moments with world leaders, and then you would leave the Oval. Trump kind of upended that when he came into the White House. And sometimes presidents are press averse. Trump embraced the media.
While Collins first started covering presidents during Trump's first term, she says covering Trump is different. What might normally be low-profile events can quickly turn into impromptu press conferences with Trump at the helm.
It's different because Trump is such an accessible president that, if he's just swearing in the ambassador to Greece, typically that wouldn't be a newsworthy event if President Biden or any typical president was probably doing it, because Trump will swear someone in and then he'll turn to you and say, any questions? And he'll take maybe questions for 45 minutes.
She says she even has the president's phone number. During the Mar-a-Lago raid, she called him and he confirmed details directly. Collins cautioned that his accessibility can be too much for some reporters. Trump doesn't sleep, and that means reporters sometimes don't either.
He does not sleep. I had this source who said, you never want to be on Air Force One on a trip. And I said, why? You'd think you want to be in the axis of power close to Trump. He doesn't sleep on these trips, and you're not going to sleep on that flight.
Data backs up Collins' points. A graph from the Sunday Times looks at press conferences, Q&A sessions, and interviews in the first 100 days of office. Trump spoke to journalists more in his first 100 days than any other president in history. And according to Pew Research, Trump in front of the camera more often has people more inclined to pay attention to the news. 4 out of every 10 adults surveyed said they're paying more attention to political news under Trump. The relationship there between Trump and the media is a complicated one. It has been for years. He dubbed mainstream networks fake news in his first administration, even putting Collins and CNN under that same umbrella. And immediately in his second term, his White House limited the Associated Press's access to the Oval Office in February after a Gulf of America naming dispute with the AP. The AP sued, claiming this was retaliation and a violation of press freedoms under the First Amendment. A federal judge ruled in April in favor of the AP, but the White House appealed. In July, the appeals court ruled the White House doesn't have to restore full access while the case continues, citing the administration's broad discretion over press credentials. The case is still ongoing with arguments scheduled for November. While that legal battle plays out, Collins says there are moments where press access is defended, as she recalled a story from her recent trip to Saudi Arabia.
And Trump walked in and he kind of waved at me, and so I shouted a question to him about how the meeting had gone, because it was this high-stakes meeting. And right after that, the Saudi royal guard was like, you cannot come into the next event. And they were, all they were deeply upset that I had asked a question, and they were all kind of talking. And to Caroline Leavitt's credit, she was like, no, Caitlin's coming in with the rest of the U.S. press. And so I went into the next event. Press access is key, and every administration, I think, should protect that.
So while Trump may be the most accessible president to the press freedoms are still being fought over in court, with his administration at the center. Thanks for watching our news update. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Kara Rucker. For more stories that matter to you, download the SAN mobile app today.